This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. How in the world did Planned Parenthood ever get funding in the first place? That is the topic of today's podcast, and it is well researched by somebody who needs to have somebody do research on him, and that is Steve Carlin, who is joining us once again, and thankfully and graciously, virtually, due to a mysterious rash from Madison, Wisconsin. Steve, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's not that mysterious. I can tell you more about it if you'd like.
We're good. We're good. We're good. Then, of course, I'm making up that you have a rash. Or am I? And we also have Ramona Trevino. No rashes. No rash.
No rashes.
Oh, gosh.
We're past that.
Yeah. So this is a really exciting topic that we are going to get to. But first, Ramona has to tell us. So I give Heather a lot of flack because I secretly think that, she's kind of a serial killer because she goes to CrimeCom and she's always interested in these creepy things and these murder mysteries. But you have joined a group that you want to share with our audience because they may have use for it, and you're quite enthusiastic about it. I'm probably going to create an alias on Facebook and join it because I think it would be useful, but I don't want to be identified with it.
Yeah, so I have joined a Facebook group called Texas Snake Identification. And I've
Slow
become
down. Texas Snake Identification.
Yes. And I've joined this Facebook group and I've become a little obsessed with it. And my family teases me and makes fun of me for it. But I believe that it's going to come in handy one day.
You see the snake, you take a photo, you upload it to this immediately, and there's two snake guys that never had a date in high school, and they identify the snake and tell you poisonous, no poisonous.
Yeah, so like
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So
That's a similar concept to how I identified the rash.
Steve is part
the rash Facebook
of
rash
the
group.
mysterious rash Facebook group, which we do not endorse at 40 Days for Life, and we also don't encourage you to Google.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I'm assuming the purpose is for
How
people
did you
to
discover that? Did you get bit by a snake? And you're like, if only there was a group that could tell me.
No, but I must talk about it or something because it's listening to me. And then next thing you know, there was like suggested groups.
Okay.
And so then I was like, you know what? This is actually, I have a feeling this will come in handy one day. And so I joined the group. They let me in. And people post the pictures and their location, and then they, in the comments, tell them what snake it is, venomous, non-venomous. And I was like, now gotten to the point where I want to educate my family. I'm like, do you know how to tell the difference between just a water snake, like broad-banded water snake, versus like a yellow-bellied water snake, and a water moccasin, which is venomous? So It's like, I need to be able to know the difference between a cottonmouth and a harmless water snake.
And what happens, we talk about a king snake a lot because they're very common in Texas and they look scary, but they're not poisonous, but they get into everything and they're very aggressive. They're kind of cool looking if you're looking at it on the internet, but when you see one in person, there was a big one under my trash can one time about 10 years ago, and it was like, oh, you can go and get the shovel. We cut its head off. It's like, it wasn't poisonous. It doesn't matter. We kill snakes. We're Christian. It's part of your baptismal promise. So, but it is, one time we have a lot of snakes where I live. And the good and bad is that I learned through the medical community of Houston that 20 minutes from my house is the best hospital in the world for snake treatments. So there's two reasons. Number one, we just have great medicine in Houston. We're very fortunate. But number two, there's obviously a lot of snake bites.
Right.
So it's needed. So it kind of freaks us out. But in our neighborhood, we've had rattlesnakes, water moccasin,
Copperheads.
tons of copperheads.
Corals?
I've killed 2 coral snakes. They actually are extremely venomous. Pfizer quit making the antivenom because their teeth are so weak.
Right.
Bites are really rare. They really kind of have to sit there and gnaw on you, which I'm not saying if that happens, you deserve to die. But it's There's no anti-venom.
They're different than a pit viper. So they don't. That's the distinction.
But
Plus, we know that Pfizer has our best interests in mind.
hey, you get bit by a snake, you're not going to be
worried about Pfizer.
You're not going to be critical of big pharma. I don't want that needle, man. Your leg's
purple. Of course
purple.
I'm going to be critical. They quit making the anti-venom.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Put some sweet and low in there. Inject me with something if I get bit by a coral snake. But
this Dr. Pepper zero sugar blackberry will probably kill any bad thing that comes into my bloodstream.
Do you know what I would
Pour
find?
it on the wound.
What would be entertaining, as long as this would be safe because he wouldn't die. But if I want to see a video of Steve's response to getting bit by a non-poisonous snake. So we know it's not poisonous, but he doesn't. I want to watch. Wouldn't that be an
That would be interesting.
He runs in the house. He's throwing kids out of the way. He's knocking trays over, calling 911 twice. Getting a couple of ambulances just in case one of them gets a flat tire, and just the full blown reaction. Do y'all even have snakes in Wisconsin?
I don't think there's poisonous or venomous ones.
It's too cold.
I'm curious now. Do non-venomous snakes even bite?
Yeah, they bite. They bite a lot.
So what? Like, what? They're just gonna chew through you, or
no? It's their defense. It's their teeth hurt. Okay. It hurts to get bit. So at one point when we had dogs, our dogs got bit by non-venomous snakes. So yeah, but I killed. We can put it on the. I killed a huge cottonmouth. I think I've discussed it before on the podcast. It was really creepy. We have a big statue of Mary in front of our house, and it was laying on her feet.
Ooh, that is creepy.
It was creepy, and he was big. I mean, it wasn't the size of my arm,
really
but
big.
they're thick, the cottonmouths. And so, of course, I'll just blame Seamus or somebody. He was 10 at the time, but misplaced the shovel. So I couldn't find the shovel, so I grabbed my axe, and all the kids are looking through the glass of the front door, and I pick up the axe, and this is just probably my apex mountain as a man, because I couldn't do this again ever. It's just perfect timing. I grabbed the axe, and in one swipe, I cut the snake's head off. The axe hits rocks that are in the garden, and sparks blow up.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get some.
Oh, man. My kids were like, my dad is the coolest thing, And
your behavior would be frowned upon in the Texas snake identification group. Sean.
See, that's why I'm not joining this stupid group.
Because
they're like,
they want you to relocate.
They help the environment, man. No, yeah, they fertilize it. That's how they help it. Those people, they keep the snakes alive,
It's grown on me.
Where are you on pet snakes? We were just discussing pet snakes. Should those people be locked up in the camps?
No, I think, everyone has their preference for pets. I'm not a big fan. I wouldn't want a pet snake, but,
Steve.
As long as it's not some snake that's going to eat children.
I'll say this connection and then we'll move on because it's not. Mary Lisa's college roommate was in vet school, okay? And one of her classmates had a python. And, it was fine. Had it for years. And it was, the python was acting really weird. So they asked one of the professors about just the behavior. The python wouldn't eat, blah, blah, blah. So the vet said, let me take a look at it. And so went to her house, examined the python, and said, you need to get rid of this immediately. It's planning on eating you.
Did they look at its iPhone or what?
Yeah, it had text messages to its buddy. It was Billy the python who lived in the forest a couple acres over, and he's like, hey, why don't you eat Rachel? Tell us all about it. Here's the deal, okay? Big animals eat people. Sharks, tigers, snakes. When we are so naive that we have this, and I'm really bad because I'm not even a dog person. Okay, so don't write in. I love dogs. I just don't want to own one. Okay, I'm like Planned Parenthood with children.
People's dogs.
Yeah, exactly. I like other people's dogs. I'm a dog uncle. But when you have big animals, they want to eat you. They're not your friend. They don't like you. They don't want to watch Netflix. They don't want to watch the Cowboys. They want to eat people. And we have the movies that show this. We have YouTube videos that show this. Tigers eat people. Lions eat people. They're not our friends. Bears eat people. So I don't understand, the logic of owning a python. But owning a snake,
A little harmless one's okay. I wouldn't want to own anything.
you can't even play with it.
I'm sure they take it out and like.
Do what? What?
I don't know. Like
I'll finish that
wrap it
sentence.
around their hands. I don't know.
Jimmy, do the trick.
Juggle the snake.
Do the trick. There was a terrible
Juggling.
There's a terrible story. It was years ago. It was on Fox, and I'm just gonna say I think a couple beers were involved. But this good old boy in Arizona is barbecuing. He sees a diamondback, right? Rattlesnake. Second poisonous snake in North America, because coral's technically number one, but diamondback's really number one because it can actually bite you. And he's like, kids, get over here and check out this rattler. And he's holding it up, and he's got the grill right here. There's just a billion safety violations going on in this one scene. He's like, it's like Varsity Blues. Knock off this here can. So he's holding the rattlesnake up, and just bam, it bites him in the head.
No.
And he died.
That's horrible.
He died. But why do we do this? We've discussed our skepticism of global warming / climate change / all the environmentalist stuff. But I find that I respect nature more than a lot of these environmentalists. Mm-hmm. I mean, why? I'm not living with a tiger. I'm not living with a shark. I'm not living with an anaconda. I'm not picking up a rattlesnake. I'm not picking up any kind of snake. I'm just killing it. I'm not afraid of, I'm afraid of them like they're creepy, but I'm not like, run away. I'm like, let's go get the shovel. I kind of want an excuse.
That's the sentiment of my husband. He's not like afraid of them. He just doesn't like them.
What we haven't had that the fun part of me wants, the East Texas part wants, is that you discover kind of a brood or a nest where it justifies getting the 12 gauge out on our property. Because right now I can't. Right now it's just one snake,
Are they
and I'm
explosives?
like, I can go and I can get the square shovel and cut its head off. So that's what I've done a dozen times, or the axe. But I kind of want a little army of snakes that I like, this is totally justified. We're going to the gun safe, baby. This is happening. So, anyways.
You're going to start a Facebook page, the Texas Dead Snake Identification Guide.
Look, that's a very popular page. I promise you it probably already exists. It doesn't have some of the weirdo snake defenders that Ramona's Facebook page has. But in all fairness, why this is good, you can do this a lot. There's an app, but there's also a website where you're bit by a snake, upload the photo.
Right.
Because that's what the doctors say. I heard the doctor at our snake hospital interviewed, and he said, even if you're 4 hours away, drive here, not your local hospital. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
You have a snake hospital?
It is a hospital that
has the venom. The anti-venom.
That has the department that has it's the best snake bite department, whatever you call that, in the world.
Well,
and I heard
not
that
all hospitals carry the anti-venom. So that's
most ERs do in Texas. I mean, if you're in a rural area, you know.
Someone I know was bit by a copperhead, and she had to be care flighted elsewhere because the nearest hospital did not have anti-venom.
And unless you're a child, copperheads they're not deadly. It just messes. You're just in bed for 2 weeks.
You're in the ICU in her case.
Yeah, you're in the ICU, and it really messes you up. I think also the problem with a snake bite, because we tell our kids, be careful, but it's just the mental, you're just mad at yourself. Like, I got bitten by a snake. And 90% of the time with cottonmouth, it's on the hand because they're reaching for the water socket or the hose or whatever. So I'm constantly looking out for, we have a ton of copperheads.
We live near a creek, so I think this is why it's really important for me to be able to distinguish between them all. And not only that, but we've had over the years 2 little baby snakes come into our home.
Oh, gosh.
And I was responsible for getting them out, which I had no problem with. I just relocated them over at the
They
were just little rat snakes.
There was an attitude there. Was that you were the only one willing to get the snakes out of your house?
Yes.
Okay, everybody else was like, I can't do it.
No one else wanted to mess with them, and but they were harmless. But that's, I feel like that's when it comes in handy, because you want to know if, for example, if one of your children get bit, what you need to do. And well, not just what you need to do. You know what you need to do, but I'm saying like you want to be able to tell someone who's treating your child what they were bit by.
Absolutely.
So you don't waste any time.
No. And I want people to know, in case they don't want the judgmentalism of the Texas Facebook
snake
club.
identification.
You can't kill the snake. I'm out.
They didn't say
It's
you can't.
scriptural. That's literally from the beginning of the scriptures, we were told to kill the snake.
Of all the creatures that could have been chosen by God to depict the devil, he chose the snake. How would you defend that? It's not. The snake is the Hitler of animals. You can't defend it. And the people that say I love snakes, or they're not all bad, I'm like, yeah. A little Holocaust denier there.
They're not all bad. They're not
See?
all bad. They're not all bad.
All right. Speaking of snakes, those who funded Planned Parenthood. Steve, this is great work. This is excellent work.
A great segue.
Yeah,
Speaking of
it's
snakes.
easy when we're talking
Proud
about
of you,
snakes.
Sean.
These are the five major events that led to the funding of Planned Parenthood, and we are going back to 1965. Okay, LBJ, who has not aged well, he is not very popular. His war on poverty becomes a war on life. Would you like to expand on that, Steve?
Yeah, so we're all happy that Planned Parenthood was defunded, but again, why was it funded in the first place? So in 1965, the Griswold v. Connecticut decision established a constitutional right for married couples to use contraception, and this ended up being a precursor to Roe v. Wade, of course. But that same year, President LBJ's Office of Economic Opportunity made the first government grants for subsidized contraception. So same year that the Supreme Court says you've got a right to contraception, LBJ begins establishing grants to subsidize contraception. And of course, things went bad right from the beginning. You've got a government program that led to thousands of forced sterilizations. And Dr. James Quilligan, the head of obstetrics and gynecology at Los Angeles County USC Medical Center, was quoted as saying, quote, "Poor minority women in Los Angeles County were having too many babies. It was a strain on society. It was good that they be sterilized," end quote. And then he planned to use a multi-billion-dollar federal grant to, quote, "cut the birth rate of the Negro and Mexican populations in Los Angeles County."
Finally,
End
somebody's
quote.
taking care of the Negroes and the Mexicans.
Mexicans.
That's right. That's right. Maybe we could just send a bunch of snakes out after them and bite them and kill them. Look at that. It's just so straightforward. He planned to use a multi-billion-dollar federal grant. This is the quote, "to cut the birth rate of the Negro and Mexican population in Los Angeles County." Unbelievable. And this is, by the way, 1965, because we quote Margaret Sanger all the time, the founder of Planned Parenthood. And people will go, it was modernism. Eugenics was new. They didn't know how bad they sounded. You know, they said Negro. They said those words as common words. But the 60s are, I got to be free. I got to be me. And it's just that now we're having the technology with the contraceptive pill to actually get rid of a lot of these people. So over a 2-year span, this is insane. The hospital increased its number of elective hysterectomies by 742%.
Wow.
Elective hysterectomy. So everybody's going and saying, I'm done. Tubal ligations increased by 470% just in 2 years. Just in 2 years. And there is little evidence of informed consent by the patients in all of these, which we know this definitely goes on now.
Absolutely.
So many women are
still
terrified of going in, especially moms of a lot of children, because, and I've heard OBGYN say, you're not really going to know. They can go and just tie your tubes, and that's it. This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, so Consuelo? Hermosillo?
It looks like Consuelo, but
Consuelo?
well, it's not. I don't know if it's spelt. Like
No,
a
because
typo.
it's the L. Okay,
Could be the E and the L were.
Hermosillo is his last name. Did I nail that? Just say yes.
Hermosillo.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hermosillo. You did it calmly. I was trying to.
Hermosillo.
Okay. Was sterilized as part of this program. She said, I used to cry when I attended baby showers. I didn't want to be at a baby shower and be asked, oh, when are you going to get pregnant?
Horrible.
Mercy. Okay, so basically, Steve, this is the intro of government and contraception. Okay, because you have...
this is the first federal funding of contraception. This is where it begins, the genesis, if you will.
But is Planned Parenthood getting funding through this, or this is just through hospitals and doctors?
These are just grants that are put out there. The funding of Planned Parenthood is yet to come.
And this is that we're steamrolling into the world's overpopulated. I mean, these people are just starting to ruin the world.
So
But
it's
they're
kind of like laying the groundwork.
absolutely, we're overpopulated. There's not enough food. We're all going to starve, all that stuff. Okay, so then in 1968, Paul Ehrlich.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think I've generally seen it pronounced Ehrlich.
Ehrlich, thank you. Paul Ehrlich. I was just seeing if you actually knew the answer. I knew it was Ehrlich. He publishes, hey, what I just predicted, the population bomb. Sounds pretty bad. He argued the battle to feed all of humanity is over. Hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. Nothing can prevent a substantial increase in the world death rate. Mass starvation, a dying planet, the greatest cataclysm in history. Ah!
Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
What an idiot. Like, how bad does this look? We're now underpopulated because of this crap.
And that's 1968.
This just infuriates me. I
Maybe
think
we
it's-
just didn't get there yet. Maybe it's still to come. He said that the end will come by 1984.
1984. Maybe we missed it. Producer John, you were alive in 1984. I mean, I was too, but did you see any signs of the world actually ending?
No, just my youth.
Yeah, his youth. Yeah, that's he listened to a lot of Metallica, but it was they're a fantastic band actually. So this
I was born in December of '83. It's possible that I saved the planet.
You know, I think maybe you're right, Steve. I think the population crisis and maybe even God himself was going to end everything in 1984. Carlin comes along, and it's like, you know, it's kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah, where the argument of if I find 10 righteous men, we only found one. It was Steve,
Right.
baby
He
Steve.
saved us all.
Yeah, baby Steve. Thanks, Steve. We owe you one.
You're welcome.
The hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. We did the opposite. We all got fat. This is America. It was awesome. We got more Taco Bells. We got Doritos. We got more processed
Now we have
food.
an obesity.
Now we have an obesity
Yeah,
problem. We're not starving. We need to starve.
Exactly.
We need to all go 2 weeks without food. It's just great. I like, how wrong were they? Okay, there's food everywhere. This guy never went to Panda Express. Okay, he's never been to a Golden Corral. Unbelievable.
Pass the queso.
Pass the queso, Ehrlich. Okay. The book's legacy is making population control acceptable as a topic to debate. So,
Yes. Not concerns about overpopulation, not access to contraception. He, in his own words, said he wanted to make population control acceptable to debate.
but it's not that, hey, he got a few things wrong. And it's not only that none of his doom and gloom BS came true. It's that the complete opposite happened. Like, it's the complete opposite. And I don't think I've ever seen, and maybe, I don't know, in 1,000 years, they'll tell us that the environmentalist stuff was all BS. But I think that I can look up and see that there's dirt in the air, right? But we are going to have so many people, we're going to starve to death, was so wrong. And now we don't have enough people to sustain our economy. We're in this huge demographic winter. Everything they said was the opposite. I don't think I've ever seen anything that was so widely acceptable. There's a few morons running around still doing the overpopulation thing, but overall, it's pretty much dead. I mean, we covered it in the first What to Say When, but it's kind of dead. And then once you had Elon Musk and everybody else popularizing the fact that we're
The demographic winter.
we're way underpopulated, and the fact that half of all sociologists believe that we're underpopulated really says that that's kind of dead. But when you look at China, they established their one-child policy. It involved up to 100 million coerced forced abortions. 100 million. And India required sterilization to get water, electricity, food, and medical care, and they sterilized 8 million people in 1 year alone.
So this is all the legacy of the population bomb right now. I got some of this. I got this all this information really from a tremendous article by a guy named Charles Mann in Smithsonian Magazine. It was an article titled "The Book That Incited a Worldwide Fear of Overpopulation." So this is just a tremendous resource, and I was really surprised to see it in Smithsonian Magazine.
Charles Mann is
Smithsonian
great.
Magazine, but if it's got the name Smithsonian, it sort of sounds like it would be an institutional sort of publication that would toe the party line. But this is a devastating and tragic legacy, and I don't think most people are talking about this coercive population control right now. But I'm sure there's going to come a time in history where we look back on this the same way we look back on some of the much more famous, or should I say infamous, abuses of human dignity that took place during the 20th century.
It's all eugenics. It's all eugenics, and the abortion issue ties directly into the global population. Horrible, evil Bill Gates going into Africa saying, quit populating, putting these doing sterilizations, putting women on contraception, funding the abortion industry around the world. It's absolutely shameful, and we don't have enough people. Japan's losing 800,000 people a year. We're not going to have any Japanese. We're not going to have any Italians. We're not going to have any Germans. And that's just unbelievable to me.
And what's interesting too is just even the fallout from that too, because like, for example, I was listening to a podcast recently. I don't remember who was on, but they were talking about discussing trafficking. So this new thing of bride trafficking.
Yeah.
Of women being trafficked into places like China from, I think it was like Vietnam and Thailand and other places, that they're kidnapping and these women and trafficking them into China because of as a result of the one-child policy. You have all these men, so they're overpopulated with men, and they can't find wives to marry, and they can't find the wives to marry and then to procreate with.
Yeah.
So it's happening. It's like this is the fallout.
And I can't stand the Europeans and Americans, too, that complain about all the Muslims. Well, they're having kids. White people didn't have kids. So the Muslims are taking over the world. That's what happens. And by the way, that's their goal. They talk about it all the time, that we don't
It's
need
no secret.
we don't need war. We can breed out the West. And that's exactly what's happening. You saw, I forget who it was that got in trouble for saying that England became the first Muslim nation to have a nuclear weapon.
J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance.
Yep.
It's totally true. And it's just one of those things where they're not, I don't like that they get mad about it. People are like, oh, these Muslims are, well, what are they supposed to do? Why would they not want to take us over?
Right.
And they have children, and they certainly didn't believe this overpopulation nonsense. Boy, white liberals have not been good in some very specific areas. And this is one. I don't think the Kennedys were into this. I mean, Bobby Kennedy, didn't he have like 5 or 6 kids, Steve? Do you know how many? And the Kennedys all had a ton of kids, and they were liberal.
They enjoyed their children, having their children, I would think.
They had a lot of affairs, but they also had a lot of kids of their own with their wife back at home. So, were you perfect? So, okay, here we go. That's 68, population bomb. 1969, Nixon enters the population control business.
So the population bomb, this book that we just talked about, really set the scene for the Nixon presidency, such that just 6 months into his presidency, and I'm calling him by his nickname here because I think you'll like it, Sean. Tricky Dick Nixon asked
Yes.
Congress to establish a commission on population growth in the American future. He described population growth as, quote, one of the most serious challenges to human destiny. Sounds pretty bad.
Sounds pretty bad. But when you fall for something, you fall for it. That's why I'm not trying to harp on this, but you could easily see the only openly aggressive but widely accepted movement that can compare with this right now is the environment. That if you wash your towels, you're going to end the world. And we've changed our behavior. We've changed how we worry about things.
And if you have more children, you're going to end the world because of the environment.
Do you remember the guy at the West Coast Walk for Life? So there's two people that always stand out. There's Bernie Sanders. Crazy Bernie. Something's wrong with him. I would never live in Vermont. So Crazy Bernie said we need to have more abortions to help the environment. He was just said it seriously and sincerely. Then there's the guy at the West Coast Walk for Life with the sign that chants. Steve, do you remember this guy? He
Is this the
F the babies, save.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
I think it's F the effing babies, save the effing planet. And he keeps saying that over and over again. I mean, I guess if you repeat on the messaging, he's quite impressive because that's all he yells. Sometimes he's shirtless, which is he's not Brad Pitt, and everybody's kind of like,
He's a regular.
Oh, he's a regular every year.
Gotcha.
And you're sitting here going, you're a guy that should wear a shirt, okay? And he's kind of, I don't know. The girls aren't lining up, okay? I don't know what he has going on socially. This is his deal. And he stands at the March for Life, and he's actually quite offensive. I know I'm kind of laughing about it, but there's children around, and you're just sitting here going, you can see those who support abortion going, we got to get this guy out of here. He's killing us. But he has it's like, sorry. It's like a crayon cardboard, and he colored the earth. He colored the planet, but it looks like something like my 10-year-old Declan would draw. Like it's like a circle, and he's got the oceans, and he's holding it, and that's his sign.
Like he like put it together.
Yeah, and it says
before.
F the kids on it, and you're just like, did you pay a kindergartner to make that sign? I don't know. Steve, you know who this guy is, right? He's one. He's there every year.
Characters at that one, but that guy stands out. Yeah.
Oh, he's chairman of the board.
You think he would get a sore throat from? He just shouts it the entire time.
The entire time, and this is why.
Now, is he marching with you or walking with you, rather, or is he on the sidelines? Okay.
He's usually kind of towards the end. It's like when you go through a museum and they have the craziest thing at the end. He's it. He's the final display.
He's the highlight.
He's the highlight, and you see
the final
him.
boss.
Yeah, and he makes me want to pollute. I don't know. I know that's wrong to say, but he just makes you want to take like oil and just spill it on a bunch of plants and be like, "Hey!" I think his head would blow up. What do you think of there, Bucky? Oh gosh, but that mindset. So he's crazy and bless his heart, but Bernie was almost the Democratic nominee in 2016. And he says, we need more abortions for population. And this is why this always ties back to eugenics. And the scary thing that we're getting to is the politicians believe it. So they're going to fund Planned Parenthood. They're going to fund contraception because they actually think we have too many people and we need to prevent life. And when you think there's too many people, you're going to end up killing some.
Yeah. Or too many of a certain people.
Mainly Mexicans,
Yep. That's the way to get rid of us right there.
By the way, I don't know what day we're on, but you have not been deported. See,
I'm still here, man.
Trump won and you would be deported, and somehow you're walking around with your Pro Vida t-shirt on.
Well, here, guys, you can't get rid of me that easily.
Oh my gosh.
I carried my passport for this very reason.
Anytime you got a split.
American citizen.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So Nixon is doing this. All right. The Rockefeller's Commission's report featured numerous policy recommendations, including, and Rockefeller's bad.
So back up just one moment, Sean, because what is the Rockefeller Commission? This was Nixon is doing all of his fear-mongering about how one of the most serious challenges to human destiny is population growth. So he gets Congress to establish this Rockefeller Commission to figure out what to do about it. They come up with a report with the following ideas that you were about to get into.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So number one, of course, sex education. Quote, through community organizations, the media, and especially the schools. That's scary. Availability of childcare, enactment of the Equal Rights Amendment, state-promoted contraception, free contraception and abortion.
This is, again,
that's the first time we've seen that.
Before Roe v. Wade.
This is 1969, Rockefeller. Contraception for minors. Wow. Removal of all restrictions on sterilization. Doesn't that just seem odd that when you write that down in a sentence? Liberalization of abortion laws, including federally subsidized abortion and private insurance coverage for abortion. So this is extremely aggressive. The country is not for abortion. This is where Dr. Bernard Nathanson, the founder of NARAL, said, hey, we knew it wouldn't work. We were just trying. And then when we saw, in his words, the church was silent, we thought, we may win this.
Yeah.
We may get through. Okay, because all this is going on behind the scenes, and they're very well funded. The Rockefeller, the foundation still gives to Planned Parenthood to this day. Funding for R&D on new methods of contraception. Funding for a program to, quote, reduce unwanted fertility. What is that? Vasectomies?
What does that even mean? That's a weird sounding phrase.
Funding
isn't it?
for a program to reduce unwanted
So
fertility.
if I'm fertile and I don't want to be, that would mean I get a vasectomy. And I guess this is tubules and so forth. But
it's just a weird thing. Like, I understand the concept of unwanted pregnancies or unwanted children, as terrible as that is to say. Unwanted fertility, it just seems like a weird thing. Like, you've got, like, oh, I have too much fertility. I need to get rid of some of it.
Yeah. I'm just.
That is very. I'm trying
to be careful here. So we'll just move on. You got a lot of fertility, Steve. Maybe too much. Okay. Training all medical professionals in fertility services, which included contraception. Okay. So this is all happening fast because we've got LBJ starting this in 65, population bomb in 68, Nixon getting government involved. He was not a good president. In 69. Now, 1970, Nixon signs Title X Family Planning Program into law, and this does the following. Designed to provide contraceptives to all, but especially the poor. That's a quote.
Got to get rid of the poor.
They drive me nuts. Okay, this has been one main source of Planned Parenthood's tax funding is Title X. Is this when they start getting it, Steve? Is 70?
Yeah, we were talking about the grants before, and I'm not sure if there were any Planned Parenthood locations that got these grants to provide contraception, but this is where it becomes, let's use a liberal word, systemic. This is where we now have a stream of funding that is authorized by Congress and signed into law by the president, where its purpose is to provide revenue and lots of it to support contraception, and this becomes one of the two main ways that Planned Parenthood received federal funding over the last 5+ decades.
Unbelievable. Okay, so this quickly leads to more forced sterilizations of minorities. This is the beginning of really the height of the left's we will defend, and a lot of this was good, and Bobby Kennedy was very good at this. We are defending minorities. Okay? So we're standing up for you. And how quickly that led to, but we actually think we should have fewer of you, because then we don't have to defend you as much. Exactly. It's a catch-22. In the 60s were the marriage of the Democrats with minority, and LBJ was a huge part of that. I know he has a famous quote with a racial slur talking about a way to get their votes. That didn't age well. He was right. He was right in saying that because it worked. And Democrats just, until Trump came along, just if you were black in America, you had to vote Democrat. Even Joe Biden said, if you don't, you're not black.
Right.
Which was news to black conservatives in general. But this sterilization of minorities, I mean, did nobody see? I guess they saw that as a service. I see a world in the back rooms where they're smoking and drinking and doing all those bad things. And it's like, hey, this is the package. And it's going to provide funding to sterilize the minorities. And the white politicians are like, oh, I got it. I'll
and it's not just sterilizing them; it's forced sterilization.
Forced sterilizations. Forced sterilization.
Like that's the key. It's like it's forced.
This is a heartbreaking number. This is something where I'm doing the research and I became viscerally angry. There was a 6-year stretch in which a quarter, maybe more, of Native American women of childbearing age were sterilized.
Mm-hmm.
So culturally, this where we have come from is we have the left sterilizing 25% of Native Americans and then telling us we can't have the Washington Redskins. Mm-hmm. Telling Florida State you can't have the Seminoles, which the Seminole tribe in Florida State told those people they can pound sand. You can't have the Cleveland Indians because Indians are bad. It's racist. Any kind of... And the Redskins they were like Navy SEALs. They were warriors. It was not a racial thing. It's just unbelievable how that developed. Now they're suing over that. So some of the tribes are. It's just interesting. Those are the same people. These same liberals that say we can't have the Redskins. Hey, can we sterilize Indians so we don't have any more of them? Well, yeah. I mean, you can do that. You just can't have the Cleveland Indians. Oh, great.
So as
they sterilized the Cleveland Indians, and now they're gone.
As I found the numbers about forced sterilizations of Native Americans, what do you think the context was? What sort of article or topic was this research coming to light in?
I don't know. Let me guess. So if I'm on the "we got to sterilize the Native Americans" committee, what is my motivation? Like, I want to take their land again. I don't want their reservations. I don't like their casinos. Like, why would we want less Native Americans?
I do not know.
I don't. They're already here.
I'm at a loss.
Yeah, I don't.
Loss. Like, why does anyone feel that way about anybody, right?
Well, for Latin Americans, they want to deter more from coming.
Right.
So they're like, okay, if we make it hard on them. But I don't, and then I'm sure blacks, it's just straight up racism. Mm-hmm. But the Native Americans, you had our dark history with them, and then the reservations. But in the 60s, they were overpopulated.
It's kind of like this sentiment of we didn't finish the job, let's finish it off.
Yeah. I think this is what led to Kevin Costner making Dances with Wolves. He's like, I gotta put a face on these people. They're still trying to sterilize them. It's 1991.
And it's so tragic too, especially when you think about the number of indigenous women who are also missing, and no one makes any effort, to find them as well. It's just it's a really tragic attack on women and their babies.
So we're focusing a lot on minorities, but during this time, the white people are sterilizing themselves through contraception or just sterilization. Like, this is where the population cliff happens. Mm-hmm. Of we come home from war, the baby boomers come, everybody has a bunch of kids, then the baby boomers get on contraception, decide they're going to have 2 kids, 3, maybe 4 max, don't replace themselves overall, create this now inevitable disaster with Social Security that's coming as they get older, and this demographic winter. But the logic of everything is we need to sterilize the minorities and get them on contraception, but the people advocating for that are doing it to themselves willingly. Mm-hmm. So it's not what the Muslims do, which is let's get them on contraception and we're going to have 10 kids.
Right.
It's not that. It's we're all doing this together, but really, y'all got to do it, and you need to be first in line. Steve, are we missing anything else?
Which I
Go ahead.
uncovered this information was an article about the overturning of Roe v. Wade and how now, once again, women will be denied choice to their reproductive futures, just like when they were forcibly sterilized.
Well, this is a good what to say when point, which is in 6 years, 25% of Native American women of childbearing age were sterilized. Is that good or bad?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Discuss.
And that 6 years was, it's from 1970 to 1976. Is that what we're talking?
Oh, good question. I don't remember the exact 6-year span, but
Okay.
it was in this realm following Title X family
If it's
planning.
following Title X, I'm guessing it's yes. It's
Gotcha,
1970 to 1976. And then the big one just a year before Roe comes, 1972, Medicaid requires contraceptive coverage.
So we talked about how one of the two big streams of Planned Parenthood's public funding was the Title X family planning program. Now we get to the other one, 1972. In 1972, federal law requiring state Medicaid programs to cover family planning services and supplies. So this was the other big source of Planned Parenthood revenue.
So this is where they get in, and then I think that from there to where we came now until July when they, thank God, got defunded for a year. What went well, it wasn't necessarily this is sort of the courting and marriage of government and funding Planned Parenthood and contraception and it all being very philosophical. But it changed from philosophical to marketing. And Bill Clinton did a great job of that. I think that this was when he comes along and he's the pro-life governor of Arkansas and then knows that he has to be pro-choice. So he's, I don't like abortion, so I want it to be safe, legal, and rare. And then points to Planned Parenthood as the Mother Teresa orphanage of children and women. This is just sort of refugee camp. And Planned Parenthood becomes this compassionate, wonderful community building organization. And there's a big difference between the government getting involved with contraception and global population, but then transitioning to the virtuous promotion of Planned Parenthood, that they are good. How could we not fund them? This is like funding, sending, helping those with malaria in Africa. This is just so good that we do as Americans. And Clinton started that, and Obama took it and made it not just marketing, but the liberal cause of a lifetime, where he's basically said, I'm going to pour as much money as humanly possible. And then that just kind of continued with Biden. But I say that because the pro-lifers said we need to defund Planned Parenthood, and that lost a lot of pro-life people or middle-of-the-road people for about 25 years. Why would we do that? There were so many people not educated on Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
And I give Lila Rose a lot of credit for the scandals that she caused
Absolutely.
in hurting their name, and certainly David DeLayden, because their reputation in 2005, 2006, 2007, when I was just getting really, really involved, it took a sentence or two to a pro-life American of why Planned Parenthood was not good. Well, I thought they did a lot of good. And that just died 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, when they, especially the David Delighted baby body part scandal, that, as pro-lifers, we wanted to see more, like something more happen as a result. But I think that did shift the public's view on Planned Parenthood. It did have a tremendous impact on the way that the general public, so to speak, viewed abortion and viewed Planned Parenthood. I think it did really have a huge impact to how the general population perceived Planned Parenthood. I know for me personally, that happened just a couple of years after I left Planned Parenthood, and that was even shocking to me. That was very eye-opening. It was obviously coming out of Planned Parenthood, I was already disgusted with Planned Parenthood, but just to see that and see that, in video, what happened,
Wow.
It had an impact on me as well.
Do you think that Planned Parenthood getting more political hurt them with the middle-of-the-road people? Because for a long time, they were probably considered healthcare, helping women. Yeah, they do abortions, but they don't do that many. They were kind of a mystery. But when Cecile Richards is speaking at the DNC, when Obama's saying, God bless you, Planned Parenthood, when they became so just the ideologues of we are the left, we are Democrats, we are political, I think that hurt them with the middle of the road people.
Yeah, it was probably that, and then also all the other things too combined.
Yeah, because they got into stuff they should have never
Right.
gotten into. Immigration, trans, gay, all the stuff. And they used to just be, we are here for women, we're here for underprivileged women.
Right.
They could have made a fortune off of that. And they probably, frankly, wouldn't have gotten a lot of attention from Trump or a lot of Republicans. They certainly didn't for decades. And I think the more they married themselves publicly to the wacko left, it probably hurt them, where people were like, well, we don't trust you. I used to think y'all did some good, but I don't
Right.
think you do it anymore.
Well, I mean, my own mother said I used to go to Planned Parenthood when I was pregnant with your sister for prenatal care. So that was early, right after Roe, because my sister was born in 73. So my mom was going and utilizing Planned Parenthood for prenatal care in the early few months of her stages of her pregnancy. She's like, I never knew that Planned Parenthood was, this organization and so bad and all of these other things.
Yeah.
They had marketed themselves as a healthcare organization. But I think what's interesting too with this Title 10 program that was signed in 1970, especially from my perspective, having been at a referral center where we only dealt, pretty much with all the contraception and Medicaid and things like that. Going back to the Rockefeller Commission and their, the policy recommendation of contraception for minors, I think this is where we have to really look at the way this Title 10 law is written, or whatever the policy, because, minors cannot go into their doctor's offices or like their, to get on birth control. Like you, as a minor under 18, you can't get treatment at your pediatrician. Like your parents go with you, right? You have to
Right.
have that consent. Whereas there's some way in which that law is written in the policy of under Title 10, where minors can go and receive contraception without parental consent. And so I'm like, there is this loophole there, right? Like it doesn't make sense to me that they can do that. But reading this, it's like, oh, contraception for minors. How do we
Right.
make that happen, right? Because what parent is going to be, oh yeah, sign my kids up for contraception. I want them to be out there, having sex and being promiscuous. It only happens at these Planned Parenthoods, or I guess I would say any other maybe clinics that have Title 10. I don't know, but Planned Parenthood is notorious for that, right? For ensuring that these young kids can go in and get contraception without parental consent.
Steve, do you think, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but the left getting liberal on going after kids. So the trans people have done it. The gays have done it. And they've been the most successful movement, in my opinion, until recently when they went after kids. But Planned Parenthood's always done this. It just never seemed to hurt them. They were always in the public schools. They've always wanted to they've sold the bad parent card, which is these girls we're an outlet for them. I mean, you don't know what kind of homes they're coming from. But do you agree with what I said earlier about they just were not very controversial when I was in high school. I didn't even know Planned Parenthood did abortions till I went to college, and I was a pro-lifer. So
Yeah, I think a big turning point was when they fired Leanna Wen, because you'll remember my position on this is that they hired her to be a technocrat. They hired her to be an expert, and they had her for a year or whatever, and then they decided that's not what they wanted. They wanted an activist, and so they hired the career activist Alexis McGill Johnson, who did what activists do. She talked about every bizarre, extreme, left-wing social issue or even economic issue that you can think of. And I think people thought, I thought Planned Parenthood was a healthcare provider. Why are they out doing every last thing that you'd expect at any left-wing political rally?
yeah, and they're in bad shape right now. We've talked about that. They're in real bad shape financially. They lost this defunding. It was the majority it was their largest source of income.
Was it like a third, right?
It was over a third.
Was it over a
It was
third?
over a third, and because it
They're
didn't.
losing the donations now on top of that. They got 3 streams of funding that are the big ones. The government funding, gone, the donors, down, and then the patient services, as they'd call them. That's the abortions and the
But they lost
things that they're charging
72.
for.
They lost 72,000 individual donors.
That's right.
Which
Yeah,
was,
it's a bad time for them.
I believe,
no doubt.
36% of their donor base. So what I'm getting at is the only way, this is like I'll use an analogy I know Steve can understand. This is like a bad football team. And the only way that they can salvage it is if they fire Alexis McGill Johnson. I don't see, that would really spark things. They get a younger leader. They get somebody who's going to lead the charge against old Donald Trump. And they should get a younger, millennial, 40-year-old woman to lead that organization. And I think they would see donors come back. I think they would see, because she's just hasn't been good. I'm not trying to criticize her personally, but she's been a horrible leader through tumultuous times. And it just seems like the game keeps going on and they won't take the pitcher out. And so, the donors are leaving. They've lost the government funding. America's getting more conservative. They've lost the youth. 40% of women 30 and under voted for Trump. That stat has to be so depressing in Planned Parenthood's break room. They should fire her. I think it would really help, which I'm not interested in helping them, but that's the only. Are you shocked they haven't fired her, Steve?
The big question to me is, what do they want to be and what is their purpose? And they don't seem to be able to agree. If you're looking to be an activist organization, which is a direction they charted when they chose Alexis McGill Johnson to be their president and CEO, then who are you going to replace her with that's any better? I think they're all of the same ilk.
No, it's that because they're bleeding cash. They are bleeding cash and they're bleeding political power. And the only thing you can do is you got to react. It's amazing that she has survived this long.
I'm surprised that she survived.
Or you're survived. Yeah.
But there's a real risk to it, though, too. If they fire her and go in a different direction, think about all the disconnect that you've talked about at the local level, between the local level and between headquarters at Planned Parenthood. They're hiring career activists. They already have angry employees. And so if they start taking a more sensible direction, maybe they get an employee mutiny. Maybe they're hoping they can ride this out. But I don't think there's a good option for them, because this can become a spiral real quickly. If you fire her and replace her and you get another loser who fails at the job, then you're going to shed more donors. And where does it stop? And this is great news for all of us. But I just think that they are hoping they can weather the storm, but it's not looking so good.
I don't know of a nonprofit leader that can lose 36% of their donors in one year and not be fired.
Yeah.
I'd fire myself if that happened. Like, we'd be going down the tubes. I don't understand how the stats just don't force. They have a board.
Right.
Okay? There's a board of directors. It's funny that you said you're surprised she hasn't been fired, because when Leanna Wynn wrote the op-ed, which was sincere about her miscarriage and how she, I remember I called Sue and Sue was like, oh, they're not going to like that, And Sue said to me, they're going to fire her. And I was like, Sue, okay, I know you worked there, but you don't need to be so harsh. And they fired her like that afternoon. I texted her, I said, you called it.
You called it. Well, and then to Steve, Steve said they don't know who they are. They don't know what they represent. They don't even know what you're. And I have to wonder how many people at the top are not as committed to abortion as they thought. And that's why they're so lost.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because look at the advances that we've made over the years. Like you look back to someone like Cecile Richards, and it kind of makes sense. Like her generation of women,
sure,
right? We're so,
and her mom,
pro-abort, yeah, and Governor Richards, and you're like, she makes sense,
yeah,
right? But it makes me question, like, with all the things that have come to light, all the truth and what we've exposed how we've exposed Planned Parenthood, it makes me question and stop and go, I wonder how many of these people are really re-examining their own position on abortion, and is it worth it to them?
And they can't be happy with how they've been represented by celebrities and other people. Who was the crazy actress or singer that ate the abortion cake and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
They didn't do all that 20 years ago. And there is how are we perceived? We're perceived as people that want to leave babies who survive an abortion on the table to die. We're perceived as we want no restrictions on abortion. And in fact, we don't. But is that good?
And which is exactly why Wynn was fired and Sue called it, which of course it makes sense. She was humanizing her baby in the womb, and she wanted to present Planned Parenthood as a healthcare organization, which is what they've always tried to deceive the population with, right? That they're a healthcare organization. And we're like in the media age, like with social media and all this, they've been exposed. We know who you are. We know what you're about. And they can't hide from that anymore.
Yeah. No, they can't. As the great David Brando said, Steve, one time, Cecile Richards is trying to be pro-abortion for normal people. The only problem is that that's not possible anymore. So a great quote by him. So go ahead.
Something I just wanted to add that I think is interesting about this is we've got these stages of how Planned Parenthood got federal funding. They all took place in a span of 7 years, very, very quickly. Many, many hundreds of millions of dollars, cumulatively billions of dollars. And I was intrigued because the foundation of it all is not what I expected it to be. It's not about the weird sex perverts who just wanted to have sex. It's not about bodily autonomy. It's all about overpopulation, which now is thoroughly discredited. And so the entire foundation has rotted away, and all you have left is the house of cards built on top of it.
Yeah, and you've got missing people on a very serious level there were a lot of people who bought into this who didn't have kids. I've mentioned meeting a lot of elderly gentlemen who said, good for you having all those kids. I wish I would have had more when I was in my 20s and we had just the 2 girls, and I was 25 years old. People would say, oh my gosh, have a bunch of kids. It's my biggest regret in life. And so people just falling for this lie, which is why you don't trust government and you do trust nature. And dare I say the church, how right were they? But it's terrible. It's really, really terrible. So, but yeah, it happened very, very quickly. And thank you, Steve, for researching this. This is all very, very, very gold. I'm going to do a quick review and then we'll close out. So 1965, LBJ does the War on Poverty. 1968, the publication of the population bomb. 1969, Nixon enters the population control business and gives the first request to Congress to address this. 1970, Nixon does, Title 10 Family Planning Program into law. In 1972, Medicaid requires contraceptive coverage, and then that brings us to their defunding in July of 2025. So, yeah, this is good, and this is a great topic. I don't know who thought of it or if it was suggested. I'm guessing, Steve, you thought of this.
It crossed my mind, and I decided I'd do some research and see if there was anything interesting there, and was pleasantly surprised because it was very interesting, I thought. I hope the listeners agree.
He was brushing his teeth in his slippers. He just thought, you know what? When did they start getting money? That's how we produce things on this podcast. All right. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ramona. Please rate, review, and share this podcast, and we will see you next time. God bless you.